AI will not take your carrier sales job.
Your job will look very different. Who a freight broker looks like and what a dispatcher looks like. I think those people become a little bit more analytical. Those people get really good at managing and orchestrating technology. There's less of the smile and dial. It's less of the I'm a broker and I grind it out, pick up the phone, I send emails. It's just a lot of busy work. They're going to be much more successful. There's a little bit of change that needs to happen, but we won't be losing jobs en masse in brokerage. I think like when I was talking with some of our engineers around like, now the team's growing a lot and I was like, hey, like, everyone is grinding, right? And so sometimes like, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's like talk about how things are going. And number one, just get some fresh air because it's beautiful like every day.
It hasn't been for the last 2 days though, I have to say.
This is beautiful in San Francisco
right now
world. Yeah.
But yesterday was like cloudy and rainy 2 days ago. But I guess
Really? I didn't even notice we're inside. But like, when the weather's nice, it's good to like be outside. And then like, I'll ask like, what do you like about what we're doing? What do you want to change? Like, so we spend a lot of time as we think about growing, like, what do people like about FleetWorks? What do they not like? So then we can then try to find more people who like match what those people would like. And, one of the things that this engineer said was, hey, I actually really love like the slightly grindier culture at FleetWorks. Like, not to say like, we really don't want our people to burn out, right? We've had zero attrition, thankfully. I mean, we try to give everyone like the space and flexibility to do what they want. But he's like, I actually was a little nervous coming in, like, oh, can I work 5+ days a week in the office? And he's like, after 1 week, it was like, wow, this is like, it feels like you're back in college in a way, like working on like a really cool project that you're really excited about, right? Like, think about like in college, like we were all working our butts off. Like, you're probably doing a bit of work on Sunday, like finishing your problem set, finishing some engineering work. And I think like the really motivated engineers like that, as the founding team and as a CEO, you kind of have to trust people. They're going to do the things that are best for them. And like, if they need to take a day off or if they need to go do something and take care of something personally, like you can't micromanage them and tell them they can't do that. So we try to hire for people who are like, just continue to be in some ways very aligned, like culturally, and that they want to work really cohesively. So all to say, I think that like in-office culture, I think some people view as like a punishment, but I think what we found by talking with all of our people is that they actually view it as a huge draw of working with us. Also plenty of other great companies who do that too. And I think in AI, there's a lot of companies who are like moving to that kind of culture. It's really hard to move to that kind of culture if you've started with like a hybrid or like a remote culture. Really hard to put that cat back in the bag. But if you start and show everyone, hey, we're all in this together, I think you can build a really cool team.
It was funny because we were here hanging out in towns like, these are like silent assassins right here. We like walk in, everyone's like super quiet.
Focused.
Like, on a computer.
We just totally interrupted deep work. Everyone's like, dude, what are you guys
doing? Who are these people? Well, it's a lot louder when we're playing Smash. So
let's go.
But it's a good time. And like, that's why we have a nice office. Like, we want, like, I personally would not want to work in an office that sucks, right? Like, you want to have a space with good natural light, good vibes, comfortable chair. Like, everything is like set up for everyone to be like as successful as it can be.
Sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk about running for a little bit, just for a second, kind of like, because I think that plays a big role in your life.
Yeah.
You're about to run the New York City Marathon and the Sacramento Marathon. I'm wondering, like, how does marathon, like running marathons and actually like preparing for them, help you in terms of like, building a startup in AI and freight?
So I think there's a couple elements to it. Very like functionally, I travel a decent amount. Hotel gyms, you guys probably know, can be really hit or miss. I found one in Chicago that's really good. I think it's Courtyard Marriott in River North. They have a really solid gym. So don't book my room if you go. But like, it's great. Like, I can travel to Houston, I can travel to Chattanooga, I can travel to Chicago, and I like anywhere I go, I can just go run. Like, I just need my pair of running shoes so I can always stay fit. That's always great. I think it's also, some people use it as a time for reflection. For me, it's really hard to reflect when I'm running. It's more just a way for me personally, like the long distance running in particular is a very uncomfortable thing. It honestly like is a terrible experience. Like, I would highly recommend that most people not long distance run. It's just painful. But for me personally, I get a lot of satisfaction out of like finding like this bubble of comfort in my discomfort. And so it's not like finding comfort in the discomfort or like in opposition. It's actually just like creating this meditative state through this like somewhat painful and very consistently painful experience. Are startups like that? Maybe. I think there's also an element of like, it's never as good or as bad as you think it is, right? So like you might be in a 16-mile run, you might hit mile 10, and mile 10 is horrible and it's painful. You want to quit, and you're just like, okay, let me just do another half mile, feel it out. And then by mile 11, you just feel like you're back at mile 3 and you feel good. But at the same time, don't start sprinting at mile 11 because you still have 5 more miles to go. I mean, so the classic metaphor is a marathon, not a sprint. So I started doing marathon running way before I started a startup. It's just really fun, and it's honestly just part of my routine.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Genlogs. Genlogs is a nationwide sensor network that has collected nearly 2 billion real-time images on trucks. You might say it's crazy, your competitor says it's game changer. See why all the top brokerages now use Genlogs to acquire new customers, source better carriers, and conduct deeper compliance. Book a demo today. It's like slinging freight on God mode.
And so you travel a lot as well, and you're visiting brokerages, I'm sure, like on the road. Like you just mentioned Houston, Chattanooga, Chicago. Sure. Anything else? Like where are you going? Like what's been recent in terms of traveling? And
I don't think we haven't really shared this that much. We just opened our Chicago office. So I'm actually spending a lot more time there than I did previously. So I'm there probably every, call it like 4 to 6 weeks. So we've got a team of like growth operations people who come from really great brokerages. So we've been really lucky to be able to have, bring on some like really, really top tier brokers, folks who recognize that, hey, like I want to be part of building an AI that shapes this industry that has in some ways shaped me. And so we have a few operators. We anticipate growing out that team pretty massively over the next few years. And Chicago's probably been the last place I've really visited on the brokerage side. What's coming up next for me? We have a bunch of customers in Florida. I think everyone loves the zero income tax and warm weather. So probably Florida sometime soon. Tampa's huge. Yeah, we actually, one of our salespeople are in Tampa. Shout out Kyle.
Shout out Kyle.
Let's go, Kyle.
So why is Florida big? Is it big for brokerages or?
A lot have moved down there. I feel in recent years during the pandemic, a lot of people moved down to Florida and they started opening offices. And like I know, like also like Tampa's become a hub for like brokers.
I know Florida has the most CDLs I think in America, like for truck drivers.
Really? Like as a per capita or statewise?
No, statewise.
Like even compared to California?
I think so. Yeah.
Break it down for us. What's going on at FleetWorks? What are y'all working on? What's exciting?
For sure. Yeah, and I think this podcast is going to air like probably a few months after we record, most likely.
We'll figure that out.
Spoiler: this isn't recorded day of, I guess. But no, I think why do folks come to us? Like, why have we now been working with many of the top 10 brokers? I think there's a huge number of reasons. I think the thing that customers keep coming back to us on is number one, our like pretty tight focus, and then also really our long-term roadmap. As a reminder, we started really with this idea that, hey, carrier sales could be done a lot better with AI. We've seen customers have a huge amount of success with our carrier sales agent. It operates on phone, it operates on email, it operates on text message. We'll be launching it on WhatsApp, on Google Chat, anywhere where you want to talk to your carriers, we want to help you be there. And folks are seeing huge margin expansion. We've had customers report up to 4% load margin expansion with our AI because we've been really focused and we're also giving them back data which helps them sort of reconfigure how they price to both customers and carriers. On the operations side, they're seeing a 30% improvement in loads per day per head. So people are really just doing more with less. It's no secret the market has been really tough for everyone, right? For brokers, for carriers, maybe not so much for shippers. They're probably reaping the benefits. But overall, customers are seeing a huge amount of success with us. And so we launched our carrier agent a little bit over a year ago. Today, we're probably touching more freight than any individual brokerage combined with our agent. And what we started to hear from the market is that carriers actually started to reach out to us and they started to ask, hey, like, I'm talking to your AI because a lot of our customers share with their carrier base, hey, we're starting to use FleetWorks now. This is kind of what you should expect. Here's how you talk to a human. Here's how you talk to AI. Here's what the AI can do. Here's what the AI cannot do. And so carriers started to reach out to us really en masse and say, hey, what the heck is FleetWorks? Like, I go to your website, you work with brokers, it does voice, it does all these things. So we started to talk with tons of carriers and we started, and we've always been focused on, hey, how do we connect brokers and carriers? That's really been our focus and our goal. And what we got really excited about was just this demand from carriers saying, I spend so much of my day trying to find my next load. And then once I find my next load, no one is there to help me service it. No one is there to help me figure out issues at the receiver. No one is there to manage my detention. No one is there to help me like route plan. And no one is also there to give me this macro view on where's this market moving and where should I put my truck. For a one truck owner operator, it's already a hard challenge. It's already super hard. I don't think I can do it, and that's why I am not a trucker. But then, interestingly, this problem gets exponentially harder as fleet sizes increase. It actually becomes like this incredible optimization problem. And so we've started to partner with, by the time this podcast airs, tens of thousands of carriers who are using FleetWorks to dispatch their trucks. So for carriers, FleetWorks has become this always-on dispatcher who helps them understand where is the market moving, how do I find my next load, and then for brokers, we match that with our always-on carrier rep. So this always-on carrier rep can always reach out to carriers in your network and out of your network and help you understand what does capacity look like in real time. And so for both sides of this market, we really help them manage the complexity of these literally million relationships. Right? Today, brokers are limited to 10,000 relationships, but can we open them up to 1 million relationships? Part of the complexity is what I described. We can also talk a lot about, I think, the challenges. Fraud has been such a topic. We can dive into that, how we solve that for these folks. But that has been what's been going on. So we're super excited about that future. By the time this airs, folks will know that we'll have raised over $15 million to support that vision. And yeah, we're really excited.
Wow. Well, congrats on that.
Thank you.
And that's like the next step, the next phase of FleetWorks is going to be on the carrier side of things, helping carriers.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did want to dig deeper a little bit into the fraud aspect. So let's go there.
Yeah. Thanks for literally picking up that lead I just buried for you. I think it's no secret that fraud is a huge problem in this industry, right? And we partner with great companies like Highway and RMIS to help brokers sort of be really programmatic about how they manage fraud. But we've also heard from some folks that it's not really enough. And in fact, I was on a call with a customer earlier today saying, hey, FleetWorks is actually screening out through those partnerships some of the carriers that I actually might want to work with. But for whatever reason, there's a lot of rules that trickle down and prevent carriers from being worked with. And if any carriers watching this episode, you've probably experienced that where you feel like you are a good actor and for whatever reason you're not able to work with a broker, right? It's tough because that's a really personal problem. And anytime you create these overarching business rules, you're gonna have people who on the margins get sort of phased out from those rules. Right. And so, I think a lot of brokers have sort of, done the math and been like, it's worth it to maybe have that fuzzy line somewhere if overall our freight is safe, right? And so we ask ourselves, what are the things that we can do to help carriers access actually more freight? But then how do we help brokers gain more confidence? I think we've seen things like brokers asking carriers to take selfies with their trucks, right? Or put up your CDL right next to your face, and these are all
your
things.
hand by your truck.
Yeah, exactly. Or show write down the date or something like that, right? And look, there's always going to be fraudsters out there. This industry is run on trust for a really long time. The best brokers do that, but it's a huge pain to actually manage that and require that and vet that. Right. Sometimes you really just need that load covered. So as we think about
and sometimes carriers will be like, no, I don't want to do that. My driver doesn't want to do that.
Sure. Yes, but I think as a carrier, you will have to sort of balance that. There's a world where, and I think over time, as you do, we actually think about many layers of verification, some of which, I just talked about, how do you verify a photo using AI that's been trained on many successful iterations of photos. But there's a lot of other things that we actually do in the background to maybe even prevent the carrier from having to go down that path, right? Because we totally recognize, hey, a driver taking a CDL selfie every time they take a load is pretty unsustainable.
Right, yeah. Exactly. It's a waste of time.
Totally.
I have 25 trucks, and imagine every day 25 drivers would have to take a selfie, send it to me, then I have to send it to the broker to get that load covered.
Exactly.
So we do that sometimes with our drivers, but that's if we need that load. If we don't need that load, if there's other loads posting in that area, we'll just move on.
Totally. Yeah, and I think I think carriers probably deserve some sort of system that really verifies their identity, and then like your identity not only is verified, but you have a reputation that you can like.
They need verified carriers. That's what they need. You know,
Sponsored by Waterloo and verified carrier.
no, but like they do need to be verified themselves. I mean, Highway's doing a thing right now too, where it's like a lot of the VIN numbers. So brokers will ask, "What's the VIN number of the truck?" And they could actually connect that VIN number to see where that truck is located. I'm pretty sure. So like we've been seeing that a lot more lately.
We manage that as well. So I think there's so many like elements that can go into anti-fraud. We've talked about photos. We've talked about like ELD connections. I think AI can do really cool things like voice verification. A lot that we do that helps carriers. I think when you think about a marketplace like us, you really need to think about safety first and foremost. I was at Uber Freight and we talked about this last time. Like, there's a lot of reasons that Uber Freight did not grow to become like the next C.H. Robinson. Certainly Uber Freight grew to be very successful and be one of the top brokers, but they didn't, like, the ambition at Uber was always to be a 100 billion top line business. We got to a billion, right? So sort of have to ask, like, why did we only get to 1% of our ambition? I think there's a lot of things. Number one is that I don't think any broker will ever get to a $100 billion market because shippers benefit from fragmentation, right? So that's why we ourselves, we partner with many brokers, right? And we have absolutely no goals to be a broker. It sounds, again, just like I could not be a truck driver, I could not be an individual freight broker. But that's one reason. And the other reason is that Uber wasn't as successful as they could have been is because safety was more challenging in a more automated booking fashion. And they've spent a lot of effort to fix that. But it's really hard for someone to trust. I don't think we're really at the point yet where a broker with high value or really high touch cargo, like imagine something that needs to be like strapped down in a certain way and you need to follow a certain instruction, that people are still at the point where they want to be involved in that process. Like I talk with many incredible brokerages who I tell them that right now we're not a fit, our AI is not a fit for them because they do extremely high touch, higher margin freight where they don't really care if they throw a lot of bodies at the problem. Like they're like, right. I'm fine putting 2 people on this instead of 1 person because for me, that shipper relationship is really important. And the shipper is paying us, $5 a mile to move something that's like, 700 miles or something, right? Like they're making tons of money on it.
Does that look like putting 2 carriers on 1 load to pick that load up? Is that?
I don't think it has to. No, I mean, I think for us, I think it's about really communicating to both sides what the requirements and expectations are. And I think any broker knows that the job of the broker is not to just book the load, but it's also to manage the shipment, right? And be there and watch it, right? But the problem is people cannot always watch shipments, right? Because you have to service other shipments, you have to book other loads, and you could probably pay 2 people to sit in front of a screen and watch the GPS pings on MacroPoint or whoever to watch that truck breadcrumb down the road. But that's not super efficient. But can AI do those things? For sure. And it's cheaper. I would actually argue it's also more accurate because AI's never going to fat finger. You can fine tune it, you can train it, you can prompt it, and you can use RAG to reduce hallucinations. So a lot of strategies that we take there. But ultimately, I think our goal is say, hey, for a broker, you need to cover your shipment. You use FleetWorks to find the right carrier for every single load. And whatever communication channel that is, whatever relationship that is, FleetWorks can serve you carriers on any shipment you want. From a carrier perspective, it's the reverse of that. But it's also from a carrier perspective, hey, from pickup to POD, there are issues. There is detention. There are missed instructions. There are appointment flexibility questions. And we really challenge ourselves to be there for that carrier during the life cycle of that load too.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by FreightFlex. Ready to take control of your future? Freight agencies are everywhere, but how do you pick the right one? At FreightFlex, we're proud to offer the #1 freight agent program in the nation, backed by an unmatched tech stack and a world-class support team. It's time to ditch the corporate grind and build your own freight agency powerhouse. Take charge, earn what you're worth. Contact us today for a tech demo and see why FreightFlex is where business owners are built.
I'm kind of curious, since we spoke from last year, what kind of changes have been taking place in AI for improvements?
Yeah. There's probably been, 10 million hours of ink spilled on that question. Since we last spoke, a lot has changed. So I think predictably, AI costs have come down and AI performance has improved. Everyone knows that is happening. I think R1 came out, DeepSeek R1 came out in between. I think folks really felt like that was a disruption. I think if you've been inside AI, you know that actually from like a sort of performance and cost curve, it really wasn't crazy outside the norm. It was kind of expected, to be honest. And although maybe faster than I think people thought, we're sort of at a really interesting point where like voice applications have really proliferated. I think all these different verticals have adopted AI agents in some way, and there's really been a push. We feel it. I think one of our largest customers, the CEO of that company, sent an email to the several thousand employees who work at the company saying, "Hey, we are trialing FleetWorks. Everyone, provide feedback, but also we are doing this, and it's really important that we really lean in to make this trial as successful as possible. If this trial is not successful, then it's FleetWorks' fault, not our fault, right?" And so that was really encouraging when we heard that. It's like, well, it's game on. Like the show is on us to really perform and show what AI can do. And we've been really excited about that partnership so far. But I think we're seeing at the executive level a really big mandate to adopt. I think from a technology standpoint, the technology keeps getting better and better. We're in San Francisco right now. We've kind of talked about a little bit about why even be here. I used to live in New York, and I think really if you're building an AI, there's so much intangible value of being here in San Francisco. And it's not just the great running weather. It's also the community. I can go get coffee or dinner with another founder, and we might trade tips that change the trajectory of our companies by a couple percentage points. And in startups where companies grow like hockey sticks, a couple percentage point change in either direction is huge, right? So we've learned a huge amount by being here. For example, we're hosting a couple founders for dinner next week. Folks who all build AI agents and in just completely different industries and honestly pretty different applications. But we all trade notes about what's working, what's not, how do you get this thing to work? Or someone will say, "Hey, I'm starting on this thing," and someone might be a year ahead on doing something pretty similar. There's an accounting company that's actually doing something kind of similar to what we do with some of our agents. And so we trade notes about what works.
That's so smart. Yeah. Just hosting founders dinners like that and doing that can save you so much time and energy. Wow.
Totally.
Have you guys been doing that for a while, or is this?
It's been a mix. I mean, we're part of a lot of great communities. So we're part of the Y Combinator community, where we got sort of our pre-seed fundraising and seed fundraising, and now we're part of the first round community, the first round capital community, where we raised our Series A. So I think just really amazing founders, folks who are just so smart and also just genuinely great people across the board. So yeah, we just get to trade notes whenever. And there's not in this office, but in our past offices, there's been other startups around the corner. We'll pop in and be like, "Do you want to come over, have a beer, and talk about what you're working on?" You just ask questions.
What do you think about when you talk about the future of AI? What does this look like in 10 years, especially for freight tech and freight brokerages, carriers? Tell us about that, and what are your friends from different industries think about it?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I will start by saying that and this is something I told a good friend and someone I hope that we get to work with pretty soon, saying if anyone's telling you where AI is going to be 10 years from now, they are full of shit. And so everything I say, I will caveat it by I might be full of shit. But because look, literally ChatGPT, the baseline technology for basically what almost everyone has built after that came out 3 years ago. Think about that, right? So even 3 years from now, a lot of people I think if you're predicting stuff, it's quite hard to predict. I think very few people were even predicting AI agents could be possible. Now you have things like the Model Context Protocol, MCP, that is another up level on what agents can do, basically. So there's a lot of innovation in AI research that we don't spend a ton of time working on ourselves, but we get to benefit from all of that. I think that being said, what does AI look like 5 to 10 years from now? So I think everyone will have AI companions. And that might mean an AI friend, but in this industry, that's not really what I mean. In this industry, I think it's there's so much dynamic data in freight And one of the really limiting things about AI right now is the context window. So basically how much prior information you can feed into the AI to inform what it does next. Context windows will continue to massively expand. And so you can imagine that AI effectively becomes like a super brain. It has a ton of information about all past data and interactions and pricing and booking and late arrivals and detention time. Like all these things can kind of come together, and you can have. I don't want to call it a super intelligence. That might be overused, but you can certainly have this orchestration brain that understands the industry in a really meaningful way. And this will not be built by OpenAI or Anthropic or Thinking Minds, I believe Mira's company's name is. There's so many like kind of horizontal AI companies. Something like this really won't be built by a horizontal company. It will be built by a vertical company. And it's really about, again, we really feel strongly about this world of connecting brokers and carriers. We really think like brokers have built these amazing marketplaces and networks. And in some ways, those networks are quite strong, particularly when you reach like the highest levels of freight, like we're talking like the top 10. But there's so many other brokers who could really benefit from kind of expanding their networks, and they're really limited by people in a way. And so I think just like the relationships and networks that exist in freight will massively expand. I don't really see huge job loss happening because the amount of relationships are going to expand so significantly that you will still need people to manage those relationships. But what those people can do is going to increase tenfold. So, will a freight broker still be like $1 million per gross revenue per head? Probably not. Like, I would argue it's already probably at 1.5 consistently. I think we'll get to like $10 million in gross revenue. So I think we will get there. We really think about it from a relationship and automation standpoint. And I think every driver, every dispatcher, every broker is going to have AI companions that help them do their job. And frankly, like companions will talk to other companions in a way, right? They'll be like changing information. I think how that looks is really up for debate. There's no doubt though that this industry has already changed significantly, but I feel like I think we're in the second or maybe maybe top of the third inning. So a lot more of the game to be played on this. Yeah.
I'm just curious, like how would me as a trucking company, how would AI, like you're saying, like a friend or a companion, how can I integrate it into my
so I guess the first question I would ask is like, what technology does your carrier already use?
DAT load board.
Yeah. Okay. Cutting edge technology.
Yeah.
Do you have a TMS?
DAT, huh?
Do you have TMS?
Yeah, we do Pro Transport.
Okay.
And then we have some other ones like Trello, and we used a lot of spreadsheets, to be honest.
Totally. Yeah.
So like would AI be able to call on loads from DAT board, for example?
Yep. So we use AI to call on boards already today. We gather a huge amount of information for our carriers. We negotiate on their behalf. We've actually had quite a number of bookings already. You should try it. We would love for you to try it. It's very early days, but I would love your feedback. So I actually think, just as an aside, this is what keeps me in the industry. Is I actually love building products very specifically for carriers. That's what I did at Uber Freight. So I built Uber Freight's like scorecarding technology and how we like treat carriers differently depending on how they treated us. And I love building for truckers in particular because if they loved your product, they would tell you. Like, they were a very vocal user group, but obviously if your product sucked, they would be the first people to tell you it sucks, and then they would stop using your product forever. So I really love it because like building products for carriers, for drivers, for dispatchers is like really cuts the wheat from the chaff. Like, the best products rise to the top, and worst products just don't get used.
Bob was telling us how sometimes he's getting AI calls and he's like, click.
Yes. Yeah, so in the beginning, what I've noticed is like with certain, like dispatchers start to remember certain voices, right?
Yeah.
With AI.
Yeah.
And basically in the beginning, they would still talk to the AI. They wouldn't even recognize it was AI. Now, sometimes when you're like busy in AI calls or something, you're just you just hang up.
Yeah, probably they say some things in between.
Yeah. Or like when we even call on a load and it's AI answering, we're just like, we don't want to waste our time.
Totally. Yeah. So I think I kind of believe in that future too. Like this is why I think like AI for the carrier actually makes a lot of sense.
Because then AI to AI can talk.
And you also don't, I think when you have an AI to the carrier, you don't really need to pretend that it's not AI. You can just be like, our goal is to say, hey, and this has always been our goal. We don't really want to fool people that we are AI. And we've built some of those AI agents that your dispatchers have probably called brokers.
What's some of the brokers? Can you disclose which some of the brokers you work with?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them are on our website. Companies like KCH, Ally Logistics, Sage Freight, Capstone. Great people, by the way. I mean, like, I think those customers have really engaged very deeply with us, and we've driven just a huge amount of automation for them. So on the carrier side, what can the AI do? So as a dispatcher, I can call one number, I can text one number, I can email one person, and I get access to a huge number of loads that are pre-vetted for me, where we know all the details of the load. Like how frustrating is it to call a broker just to know, does this need load bars or straps? Like that's annoying. We also pre-vet the rate, so you know what the rates are, and we give you a range of what the rate could be. We also remember who your drivers are and what they need, where their homes are, what their preferences are, where they want to go, and why they want to go there. So some and again, this is the cool thing about carriers, is every carrier is run very differently. Some carriers are, call it semi-forced dispatch, where they're like, hey driver, you're going here. And the driver's just like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Some carriers, leased owner operators, they go wherever they want to go.
Yeah.
And so the AI needs to pitch to the driver why this is a good place to go.
So how does it pitch it though? Does it call the driver and be like, hey, this is a good load for you? Or does it send a text, or is it an email?
However you want. I think that's the cool thing about AI, and what we fundamentally believed in from the beginning is that we have a portal. We have a carrier portal. Some carriers use it. We have a mobile app. Some carriers use it. But really, we've invested a huge amount of time in making that phone, text, and email experience really great for everyone. And again, we never want to like pretend to the driver or the dispatcher that we are human. Of course, our voices are very realistic. The way it interacts is very realistic. But I don't want drivers to feel like they've been tricked.
Is this AI or not?
Yeah.
You'd rather have it be AI?
Yeah.
And you'd rather have it be a sick load where Bob answers, oh shit, they're calling again. Last time I got an awesome load, and I want to listen.
So would you focus more on owner-operators for AI from the carrier side, or is it more like small to medium carriers?
Yeah.
What's better? Because I mean, that's a whole different ball game, right? Because if it's a one owner-operator, he's specifically looking for one load.
Yep.
Usually when you have more trucks, you're dispatching 5 different trucks or 10 different trucks.
That's a lot of work.
And that's you have to kind of multitask and everything. So like, are you guys focused first on just one owner operator and then kind of building it up that way?
We have carriers actually across the gamut. I would say maybe by the time this podcast airs, I'm gonna have an amazing answer for you, and then I'm gonna have to email you, and we're gonna like cut that in. But right now, I still think we're actually learning about who gets a lot of value from this product. Owner operators might work with like dispatch services. Carriers like yourself. How many trucks do you have?
28.
So you've got what, 4, 5, 6 dispatchers or something like that?
There's 3 of us.
3.
Right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So you're running it pretty efficiently.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's why we're still making money right now.
Yeah.
Bob has a G-Wagon. He has a G-Wagon. Yes, G-Wagon. He actually has a G-Wagon.
All right, we got him, ladies and gentlemen. We found the carriers making too much money. No, but
Hey, I work 24/7, you know.
I get that. Trust me. Preach to the choir. Your dispatchers are I'm sure are doing a very good job because you have a G-Wagon. But like, how many loads are they actually like calling out on and having access to? And also, like, is there actually a bunch of freight that maybe isn't even posted out there that maybe you could get access to?
100%. Or the freight just goes too quick because you don't have the time to call it or email it.
Yes.
But if AI can call it faster and book it, because there is certain loads, like that's why I'm thinking it's such a good idea for me that we're too slow to call it and somebody else books it. So even the rate that it's posted for, you would take it, you know, but you're just too slow because somebody beats you to it.
We used to snipe loads where we'd wake up a couple hours before the market opens or late night,
especially in a
and
wet market,
we would print out the load posting and the phone number, and first thing like 6:30 a.m. we're calling that broker and trying to get that load early.
But you had the expertise from being in the brokerage side.
Yes.
You
And
knew
that early
was
freight, we found a lot of gems there, and if we had an AI agent somehow being able to book that, and like we just come in and like boom, there's a Raycon chill in there.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So just a quick background on Tom's story. So Tom was the youngest intern at Coyote at 17. He started working at Coyote, and then he opened a trucking company at the age of 20, and he grew that to 30 trucks.
Yeah, super passionate about both sides, the carrier side and the trucking side.
He knows the carrier side and the brokerage side very well. Yeah. And he was able to run his carrier side very well because he came from brokerage.
Right. Were you booking only with brokers or mostly with brokers?
Mostly, almost all brokers. Yeah. Maybe we had like 2 direct customers that we were doing a couple loads with.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I mean, what's happening here in this game, and it sounds like from you do not think. There's always been talk about cutting out the broker, the middleman, and there's been talk about AI potentially speeding that up or actually making that happen.
Sure.
Whereas it sounds like you do not think that's happening anytime soon.
I don't think so. So I think, where is this talk coming from also? Like, I'm actually really curious, like who, I think it's really important to look at like who's saying these kinds of things. I think if you look at like the investor community, they might be saying those kinds of things. But I think if you've been in this industry long enough, there's actually brokers do something that is very simple, but actually very complicated. But it's simple, but it's not easy, which is one of my favorite sayings. Like something could be really like obvious, but it's like being a broker is simple, but it's not easy. Same thing with being a carrier. Like literally, it's hard.
It's answering the question like why do
brokers exist?
Brokers and not carriers?
Why do you think? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's managing all the problems at the time and being able to also be a bank in some ways.
Yes, that's the second reason. And I would kind of argue it's a third reason, sort of related to the problems, is brokers are actually a great liability shield. And this is like, I think, this is, and we kind of talked about this, like AI in a world where it is not as trustworthy as a human, you obviously could not replace a brokerage. And again, I actually fundamentally believe that like working across many brokerages is actually way better for FleetWorks than it would be for FleetWorks to say, we are going to replace a brokerage with just all AI everywhere. Because then suddenly, okay, well then we're up against every other brokerage. And then look, there has been very few brokerages that have even broken like the, call it $500 million gross revenue. That's a big brokerage, right? Let alone start like billion, 2 billion, 5 billion. Like no one's even gotten close to C.H. Robinson, like ever.
That's 8 billion, right? C.H. Robinson? Well, that was like maybe 2021.
8 to like 15. It kind of depends on what part of the freight mix you're looking at. But yeah, no one's gotten close to beating C.H. Robinson. Personally, I actually like a lot of the brokers we work with. So I don't want to replace them just on a very personal level, but even on the strategic company level, FleetWorks benefits significantly by being a network that helps other brokers in our network win freight because, number one, from a carrier perspective, you're like, hey, how sick would it be if a Raycon showed up just when I roll in and half my trucks are already covered. But on the flip side, the exact same thing is happening on the brokerage. Well, yeah, they come in and half their loads could be already covered, right? What will happen with brokerage? I think, again, brokers who get really good at using technology will continue to outperform. There's almost certainly no doubt that broker margins compress, so they have to use technology. That this has just been a trend as you've been in Coyote, you started Coyote like 10 years ago. Industry margins have compressed significantly even in that time period, let alone, back in the early 2000s, Coyote margins were probably 2 to 3 times what you saw.
Coyote didn't even exist, but exactly.
Well, American backhaulers, that was like the golden age.
Yeah, golden age, everyone, there were 100% gross margins rolling around. That doesn't happen.
We were talking yesterday about how maybe the industry was better before all the AI tech, etc.
Yes.
The margins were better, people just trusted.
Drivers were barbecuing at a truck stop.
It's not because of AI, that, like right now it's because of AI, maybe the margins are getting compressed. But beforehand, it was just also like a lot more competition. Like people started coming in the industry, and there's also just been technology on all fronts.
I don't think AI has compressed margins yet. I think it is way too early. I know everyone's talking about AI. I don't think AI has compressed brokers' margins yet. Like the market has been horrible for years before AI, and the trend on margin compression was ongoing. I'd actually be very curious to look at aggregate broker margins and see if that trend has accelerated. I would bet that it probably doesn't accelerate, but it probably continues to compress. Like there's just no way. Like brokers have just been squeezed for the last 20, 30 years. But yet there are still many successful brokerages. They just figure out how to operate in like a different environment.
Cutting costs, either labor through outsource, right?
Hustling their asses off. Yeah. I mean, look, and I also think that brokering freight is really complicated. You have to price accurately to the customer. You have to target your service levels. Like sometimes some loads can be rolled, right? Like you guys know you've been in brokerage. Like sometimes you can roll a load and that shipper does not care. Sometimes they really care. And the brokers who are successful are actually really good at understanding how price meets requirements, meets service.
And
again,
time meets time.
Exactly. And again, it's quite simple. We just describe what a broker does in like 2 minutes, but it's not easy, right? Building $1 billion or even building a $10 million brokerage is not easy, let alone a $100 million or $1 billion brokerage. So brokers are not getting replaced by AI. I think brokers will continue to win who use AI. I would actually advocate that brokers use many different agents across their business. I think we're at the point of maturity where brokers are using one AI vendor or one AI agent for something that they're really good at, and then using other vendors for other parts of their stack that are really important. We actually sometimes encourage that as a company. We say, hey, like, this is not our bread and butter. And
these guys.
Look, could I build this for you in like a month and it would be decent? Yes, but like, then look, I have to support this thing. So I, as a CEO, evaluate strategically, is that where I want to put my limited resources? Look, I think just personally, we are very excited about what we're doing on the carrier side. Look, I'm just seeing it in your guys' faces, just the imagination and the opportunity of like, hey, imagine if an AI could talk to my drivers and it could, number one, retain them. So I'm not like losing drivers. Like, hey, how are you doing? How are things? You get enough sleep? How are you feeling? Are you going to get home to your wife? Like, what do you need from us? How many times are dispatchers ignoring that because they just need to get their job done, right?
Do you think AI will fix that? Because like, do you think an AI, like truck driver actually wants to speak to AI about those problems?
We've proven that they do.
Yeah. Honestly, we've been seeing that kind of with conversations, but we've been talking a lot about ChatGPT and like getting advice and talking about it. Through thinking together.
Like talking to ChatGPT, like texting is
so good at like resummarizing the situation, and then
it feels like a human in a way when you're texting it.
What have you guys been talking about?
Relationship advice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And
nothing like an AI robot for that.
Literally.
Truck drivers, we haven't seen it yet, but truck drivers will probably do the same thing, to be honest. Like, look, my wife's upset. Like, I'm not home that often. Like,
how do I explain this to her?
Just give me a really good load and my day's gonna be great.
Maybe if you book like a $3,000 load, you'd be good.
Would that AI speak different languages?
Yeah.
What languages do your drivers speak?
Mostly Ukrainian.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the underlying tech is just getting so good. Like, all we need to know is who's this driver? Right. What's his or her name? What language do they want to talk? And then we call them and say, hey, I'm like your new AI robot assistant. What can I help you with? Like,
try it out.
Yeah. What loads are you looking for? What loads are you looking for, right? Of course, like the driver, I think it's important for the fleet to work with the driver to set expectations. Like, you don't want to be like, all right, like what you want to say, just like we tell our customers, like, hey, we still have people here, and we still have people too behind. Like we actually hired some really great people from brokers to call it like customer success managers for the carriers that work on our platform, because we want them to have a human touch to step in case like they need human help, or even just be there to like ask questions, right? So that's like really important to us.
Find shippers fast with shippercrm.com. Shipper CRM is a freight carrier product, and it is the first US shipper database and freight CRM. Stop wasting time searching for shippers. Shipper CRM is the fastest way to find the shippers you should be working with. This purpose-built sales platform offers 4 key features: US shipper database, access 51,000 research shippers, Magic Map, a revolutionary search engine that helps you quickly find your ideal shippers, Magic Contacts, logistics contacts that automatically update themselves, Relationship Manager plus integrations. Seamlessly manage shipper relationships with built-in CRM tools and integrations. Supercharge your sales process with Shipper CRM. Learn more by going to shippercrm.com.
All seeing, all knowing, can convince us, make us feel good, solve all the problems on the road. Some hot takes.
We should do like a few. Go ahead.
How does it play out when both sides are using AI,
Yeah.
and these AIs are basically bidding to each other. Hey, here's this load for this much. No, can you take it for 300 more?
Sure.
No, I can't.
Does someone have a stronger, smarter AI?
Yeah. So how does it? What is that kind of pathway? What could it lead to?
I actually don't think that will happen. I think that might happen for a very, very short period of time. It's better for the carrier AI to be directly connected to the broker system. So we actually just know what their min and max is. And in fact, frankly, like the AI should really know pricing in general. Like if a carrier wants 300 more, that AI should actually have this macro view of what is realistic pricing. And look, if that carrier wants 300 more, and realistically across the network, carriers are only getting 40 more, they're not going to get, and like the AI should advise the carrier, hey, that you're not going to get this load, right? And we actually very frequently see carriers throw out crazy high rates just to come back and get like a pretty reasonable rate. Like that just happens.
That was so inefficient. And one of the things that when I built broker relationships, all of my close-knit group of brokers, we cut the bullshit. And we're just like, let's go straight to the rates. Let's not play these games.
Tell me what you can
efficient.
do.
And all of us made more money thanks to it.
Right. So that we actually see, and I think that will actually change massively. I think the idea of carriers, I think in psychology it's called like the slam the door technique, where you slam the door super hard and then you just open it a little bit. Like that style of negotiating will probably go away. And we're going to get much faster to like a true market rate. So that's what I'm excited about. I think the world of like AI phone calls will
disappear.
Is it temporary?
I think it is temporary. I think it's temporary for carrier sales for like covering loads.
I mean, it would be much easier if like we just hooked up into the CH like system base, set up our lanes, set up the rate we need, and then just send it, and book all the stuff we need.
Exactly. And CH is a great example too, because they just
have
so
everything.
Much volume. They're just like whatever, go. So I think we're really excited about the future.
And then your carrier or your dispatchers or carrier reps, dispatchers, I suppose, people are just checking and filtering like that. It didn't make a mistake or something like that. Right?
For sure, and we, I think this is where we really lean in on human visibility on all sides of this. So, for the broker, we're connected to their Teams or Slack. So they actually can like monitor in real time. They can provide input into negotiation if something falls outside of parameters for whatever reason. And eventually over time, you'll start to include things like customer criticality and ability to flex the load and prior service failures. Like all of that can get fed into the context window over time. On the carrier side, if the carrier or driver or dispatcher trusts us a lot, we can just go ahead and book that load if it meets what they need. If it doesn't, maybe like we do the equivalent of that Slack or Teams message. Maybe we just call or email or text them back and saying, hey, here's what I've got. Let me know. I think we always try to drive for maximum efficiency in everything we do. So we want to figure out ways to streamline that communication. And ultimately, I think what we really strive for at FleetWorks is generally to like build and maintain trust with all of our customers. And I think, the broker community, because we've been so focused on servicing them in a very specific way, we found like amazing trust. Because folks come to us and say, hey, I have this problem. And the feedback consistently is like, wow, like FleetWorks solves this faster than anyone I've ever worked with.
Can you hit me with an example real quick?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give you a couple examples. So we were in pilot with a major brokerage. And this is actually like outside of specifically AI, said, hey, like it's really cool. You're doing this like voice automation. You're doing email automation for us. It's really awesome. We're seeing great margin expansion. Feedback from the team has been good. But me as this leader of capacity, I would really love to get a really smart view on the data that you're gathering. Like, yes, you're pushing that back into my TMS, but look, there's no secret that like that TMSs are not necessarily built in the most dynamic way to present like data for you to extract in a really meaningful way, right? And again, like I think TMSs are really great as like data stores, really great like operational flows.
Yeah, but there's
not
no
good for
beautiful
analytics.
maps of it and
Yeah,
statistics.
yeah.
And it's no QuickBooks where you print out these beautiful charts.
Exactly. Yeah. Which like I get, like TMS has to build a huge amount of surface area. So they say, hey, FleetWorks, can you help us understand the data that you're gathering for us? And in literally 1 week, like our next check-in, we had this amazing visualization of their lane data. They're like, I mean, they literally couldn't believe it. They were like, this has never happened before. No one's ever shipped anything this fast for us. So I think we just like incrementally try to be a great partner for our customers, and over time we win trust, which is great. Another example, which has been really fun, is we had a broker wanted to spin up a whole new agent for us, so they get a ton of factoring calls. So we say, hey, you are a huge value customer of ours. We're going to spin up this like rate verification agent. We reach into their TMS. The factoring company calls in. They want to know, was there any OS&D? Who's the carrier? Blah blah blah. We automate all that. We send that back to the factoring company with our voice AI. So that's like a little bit outside of our core of carrier sales, but we have felt a really strong pull from a lot of customers. And typically, my approach is if I hear something once, I just remember it, and if I hear it twice, we'll build it. Yeah,
We'll build it.
Yeah, typically.
I think that opportunity is a little bit easier to start tackling first, is like with the factoring and the little paperwork things, the admin things.
Yeah. Okay, wait, what are your guys' hot takes? We skipped that.
Yeah. Tom likes doing hot takes. So what are some hot takes?
AI will not take your carrier sales job.
Yep. That's my
Cold
hot
truth?
take. That's
Cold
my
truth?
hot take.
That's your hot take?
That's my
It will
hot take.
not take it.
Yeah.
Cold truth.
Yeah. That's not what we're trying to do.
Your job's going to look different.
Your job will look very different. I think.
It will not take your job, but your
Yes.
job will look different.
Here's what I will say about people's jobs. I think who a freight broker looks like, to your point, and what a dispatcher looks like changes. I think those people become a little bit more analytical. I think those people get really good at managing and orchestrating technology. And there's less of the smile and dial. It's less of like I'm a broker and I grind it out, and I just pick up the phone, I send emails. Like I think the more strategic individual human freight brokers and individual human dispatchers are going to be able to do more. They're going to be much more successful because this industry is just full of. It's just a lot of busy work, right? And people who've grown up in the industry, like, hey, I've been doing this way for 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. I'm used to things a certain way. And so there's a little bit of change that needs to happen for sure. Not for everything, but we won't be losing jobs in mass in brokerage.
What would that look like for like a broker to be more analytical? And like right now he's smiling and dialing, he's sending out a lot of emails. Take us like what like maybe a broker that's using AI and other tech, like, and he's going to be what you said, potentially 10 million in revenue, like doing
10x more efficient.
10x times more efficient. Yeah. So like what would that day look like?
Yeah. There's a lot of roles in a brokerage. So let's focus on, let's call it carrier sales. Let's call it carrier sales. Yeah. This person is probably spending, let's say about half their time, I would say about 10% of the time covering easy freight, about 50% of the time covering really tough to cover freight, and about 40% of their time managing the freight that they covered, probably.
And that actually looks like just calling your carriers, your relationships with it, and, and scanning your load boards, your company load boards.
You're posting the boards.
Looking over and over at your load boards and what hit.
That's right now.
That's
today.
Today.
So today, I think they're spending like 10% on super easy freight. They take a couple phone calls off DAT, a couple of emails. They post out a bunch of loads. They start calling their relationships. They start prospecting out using a bunch of different tools.
Email lists.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, they're just blasting. They're just there's so much. I think that the tough thing in this industry is there's so much noise, and one of the things that we try to do is try to reduce the noise, which is scary for some people because it's like, wait, less noise means less success, and the paradigm that we're moving to is less noise is the same. It's just you're the same level of success, which is scary. It's like you
or more.
You could have more. You absolutely could have more. And I think the more comes from the data. So this is kind of getting into the analytics piece. So what does it look like? Well, a broker spending a lot of their time triaging issues and frankly just informing AI what to do. Over time, the AI starts to do more of those kinds of things. But There's still, I really am hesitant when anyone is promising that AI is going to like resolve every exception for you, that AI is going to solve every problem for you. I just don't think it will, because sometimes you need a human touch. You do.
It's a tough question, and like I'm cool. Like I think we should all think through it almost together in some ways, because okay, so you're telling your AI how better to fix these things. So what's that look like? You come in and like, okay, so I want us to. You prompt it to.
Is that what you do in FleetWorks? You prompt it though? Like
You don't have to prompt it. No. So an agent comes pre-prompted. So we've narrowed in on a carrier sales rep. Let's narrow in on like a very specific task. So instead of 10% easy freight, 50% hard freight, 40% load management, I think it's going to be 0% easy freight. It's going to be maybe 25% harder freight, and then what is it, 65%
load management, which is problems. Like
problems, yeah.
We're not getting loaded at the ship,
Correct,
or wrong
correct.
pickup number.
or building relationships.
Or maybe I would even really add that there's actually like a new element that comes in, which is like analytics management. Like maybe you're spending 20% of your time on analytics management. So you're really
What's that look like?
You're really more of a manager at that point. So what does that look like? Well, FleetWorks brings you a carrier and says, hey, carrier's having trouble at the pickup. We've tried every load number that you have in your TMS. None of them are working. Please give them a call and try to sort it out. Or hey, I've already called the customer and we're already waiting on a reply. So you might just acknowledge that. You might just say, okay, great,
Green light.
thank you. Yeah,
Standing
you're good.
by for
Yeah.
response. And then maybe if the carrier's starting to flip out and he's like, fuck this AI, then you can call them and be like, hey, listen, we're actually just waiting on the, and they're like,
Right.
okay, cool. So that's,
Yep.
yeah, it's more you become a problem solver, no more negotiation.
I think there's a lot. I think
Unless
reps
you're-
are still booking 25% of the time on hard to cover freight. Like they are negotiating that freight that's ultra critical. That maybe you have like a new customer you're managing, or maybe you had a service failure yesterday on that customer. You want to make sure it's really, really good this time around. You want to lean in. So you are negotiating. I just think you're spending a lot less time negotiating. I think you're problem solving more, and you're looking at data that AI is giving you to then. We kind of talked about how do you become more successful? How do you take the data that we're giving you, the pricing data, the capacity data, the exception management data? How do you bring that to your customers as like a salesperson? And again, we've sort of been talking split model here, but let's pretend now we're back to being an account manager or a cradle to grave rep. How do you bring that back to your customer and say, hey, here's where I'm seeing the market moving. By the way, here's where we have a lot of excess capacity. Give us more freight, and I know that we can service it. Like we have that capacity. And if you give it to me, I know we can service it. Or saying, hey, like our AI is flagging that we are consistently having issues at this facility. So let's sit down and try to figure out what is happening at that facility so that we can be smooth next week.
There's nails and trash all over the yard. And our drivers keep getting flat tires.
Yeah.
And that's why this rate that you guys think is good is actually not good, because every carrier that's been there gets a flat tire and they're like, fuck that. But
That's a crazy scenario that I've literally never heard, but it makes sense.
we just talked about it. Yes.
That's crazy.
Happened
Yeah.
about. Yeah. We just talked
This just happened to me recently.
Yeah.
Last week or 2 weeks ago.
Is it the same facility, or this is like one
It's
off?
that facility. Pretty much, they ship like a bunch of not like
Nails.
not nails. They ship like bad stuff, but they make the drivers clean their trailers, and the drivers just dump all that stuff on the ground, so the ground never gets cleaned up, and then drivers just leaving have like with pop tires and whatnot.
It's like a littered ground. That's like the
Very
little
solvable.
stuff.
Very solvable.
I mean, yeah, but like that's not something that AI can directly solve. AI can maybe alert someone, hey, high elevated exceptions. I think AI has to get really good to be like, hey, like drivers are reporting nail punctures or tire
Exactly.
punctures.
And now you got
That's
data
hard.
and statistics of how many times they reported it.
Sure.
Because right now it's just this carrier rep that's like, dude, I hate this facility because it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right
It's
now
so hard to sell
dispatchers
here.
keep
Yeah.
notes pretty much like this facility sucks. This don't go
yes.
there. or
Where
whatever.
with AI now, like it's packaged really nicely, etc. You send it to the customer.
What do you think, like, eventually, is it going to be just like one big AI that's kind of doing all this, or is there going to be a few AIs that, are working in the freight industry, I guess? Is there going to be like consolidation pretty much? Where
There probably
AIs
will be
or different
consolidation.
people's AIs?
Yeah.
because it makes logical sense to only have like one or two, right? Because that way they can kind of interact. So say somebody, like as a carrier, I use FleetWorks and then a broker use FleetWorks. But if they're kind of integrated, then I already know what the pricing is.
100%.
So they don't even have to communicate with each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it would
Then
make more
you have
sense
this
to have
network in a way.
right.
I think there will probably be very few AI companies in logistics in the long run. There is so much data, and there's so much data that could be feeding other parts of this network.
Right.
To your point, like this facility is having problems. This carrier doesn't like going there, but if you fix that problem, they would come back there, and then you can bring new carriers in.
And you get better rates.
Exactly. Yep. And we saw this at Uber Freight actually. We saw that because we had this facility ratings product, just like Google Maps. Like you can actually just Google these facilities. We found that facilities every don't quote me on this number, but I think it's mostly true. Every 1 star lower, so we had a 5-star system. Every 1 star lower was a 0.7% increase in carrier procurement cost for us as Uber Freight. Wow. So we took that data to shippers like LG. We had them fix some facilities. We saw carrier pricing come down. Most facility ratings come down to facility wait time. That is the biggest driver by far. Yeah. Sometimes you get a rude dock worker, or maybe you got nails on the ground, which that's new. Sometimes that happens. That could be bad, but it's usually wait time.
No, 100%. We've canceled load before. Once we find out who the shipper is or the receiver, we just cancel the load. Hey, we don't want to. We've had bad experience there. We don't want to haul it there, and sorry, we can't take this load. Because the brokers don't tell you sometimes ahead of time.
I think that's where our goal with our AI really is I think in an industry of limited transparency, because people feel like they have to be less transparent to sell you that load, right?
Where you could be like, hey, listen, here's the load, but everyone complains about this.
Yeah, right. That's what I kind of like about Uber Freight, because when you go on their load board, it shows you where the actual address is you're picking up. It shows you who the receiver
you don't
is.
hide it.
It shows you like
Cincinnati when it's really...
no, it shows you like the details.
Paul did that. So.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Plus, you get to rate it. So, why doesn't Uber Freight?
So I actually built the rating system too.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Why doesn't Uber Freight use AI?
By the time this airs, and I mean maybe I'll have to let you guys know if we have to strike this, but we're partnered with Uber so carriers who are connected to Uber and connected to FleetWorks can access Uber Freight's load board through our platform. So if carriers using FleetWorks to dispatch their truck, and they have an account with Uber Freight, so sort of do that like end-to-end authentication. So if you work with Uber Freight, you work with, let's say, RXO, you work with LoadSmart, you work with Capstone, they all come into our platform, and then, really instead of calling 4 numbers, you call 1 number and you get all their loads. And then our goal is say, because we connect to the TMS, we want to try to provide maximum transparency to the carrier.
Because I'm just curious, because recently actually I got a call from Uber Freight that was asking on an update on a load, and it was a legit person, not AI, and I'm like,
Yeah, what the?
That could be resolved pretty easy.
Track and trace, we actually do it for many customers. To do track and trace well in a way that's not disruptive to the driver, which we really care about, is actually really hard, because if you just do, I mean, you guys know that, like, this is gonna be super obvious. Let's say we do a dispatch check call 4 hours ahead of time with the driver. We say, hey, are you gonna be on time? Do you have the bars that you need? Driver says, yep, cool. What time are you gonna be there? Oh, well, it's a appointment window. It delivers between 9 and 4. And they say, oh, I'll be there at 10:30. Bad AI calls the driver at 9 a.m. Says, hey, you're supposed to be at pickup. Where are you? Driver says, what the fuck? I told you 10:30. Even someone who is an offshore track and trace agent should be doing a good job at checking that 10:30. Now, again, those people might not be that good. They might not set the next check time correctly. They've also, there's track and trace is such a dynamic problem.
We have a team of 17 track and trace people in Poland that, the brokerage in Chicago is thrilled with them, and they're just like, you guys are amazing at track and trace. Yeah. And people kind of want to level up into other positions, but everyone's like, dude, track and trace is actually not super simple, and we just want more track and traces because you guys are crushing it. Yeah. We don't want people leaving that role because you guys got it figured out very well. And their customers love it because we're track and tracing better than anybody in the game, it sounds like, because they're growing their brokerage like crazy despite this tough time.
Cool. Are you running an offshore team right now, basically?
Yeah.
Cool. It sounds like you guys have it figured out. Like, it's what do you think, if you can share, what do you think you guys do that makes you so good at track and trace?
I think the guys have been dispatchers. A lot of them, the guys and gals, have been dispatchers working for like trucking companies that didn't treat them great.
Okay.
And so they're just thrilled about working for a U.S. brokerage that gives them like great hours, great conditions, great vacation times, like everything's great.
Okay.
And they're like, dude, we're thrilled to be track and tracing
Okay.
in a lot of ways. Like we love the prospect of being carrier sales one day,
Yeah.
but like they're just so grateful for track and trace, and they treat it with pride. Like they really own it and like are proud of it and want to do a good job. Seems like you've cracked the code. A lot of the things you're talking about, how the carrier and the broker are able to communicate and just book all these loads. Like it's simple. It sounds simple. Like and it sounds like the tech's all there. It's just like putting the last pieces of the puzzle together in some ways. Is a little bit of what I'm hearing, right? And it's just like so close in some ways.
I think we are very close. Yeah. I hope to be on this podcast in 1 year and be super excited about just how many trucks we are dispatching, the problems that we're resolving for drivers, the problems we're resolving for brokers, the transparency that we can bring to this industry. I think you guys saw the team out there in the office, like the heads down, like focused, ninja mode. Man. Everyone's really aligned, and we had our all hands earlier today. So it's been a really fun challenge, like growing this team and keeping everyone aligned on the mission. I think we taste the future that is coming. So super excited to be building it.
And like these are the smartest people in the world working on this problem. Like you come in here and like you sell.
This is not being worked on
very focused.
It's not being worked on in Europe as far as we're aware, at least not in Poland.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely interesting, and I think SF is like probably the only place this could take place.
I think SF is just full of people who believe that change is possible, right? That's what keeps people, they believe a change is possible, and they're also really willing to work to do it. And you sort of, I think we try to hire for really great technical minds who also are super comfortable with business problems. Like all of our people to date that we've brought on the tech side, we always fly them out to a brokerage, right? And we like, hey, like, what is your first day like? And they're like, that place was insane. Like that was crazy. So I think we feel really strongly about putting people with our customers really deeply and talking to them. We all of our engineers talk to all of our customers like at least once a week, if not daily.
Would FleetWorks be able to set up pretty much? So we run a lot of LTLs.
We don't do any LTL right now, but I feel like there's no reason why it couldn't. But
so for me, it's pretty simple. Like, right, we're based in Charlotte. We have a warehouse hub in Charlotte. We have local drivers in Charlotte, so we can pretty much pick up LTLs anytime. Every day we look for LTLs that's posting out of Charlotte, North Carolina, going to Phoenix, Arizona, and say Southern California. So San Diego, Los Angeles area, as long as it's below Bakersfield, pretty much, we can book. And our quote is pretty much $100 a foot. So say it's 17 feet, we need $1,700 on it. It's 24 feet, we need $2,400 on it. Would FleetWorks be able to do that?
Sure, of course.
And then you could just partner with the brokers you have and just legit send them. You don't even have to talk to them. You can just send them the rate.
That's the ideal, yeah.
And like it actually works. You could have that working this week.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it depends on the capacity, right? Because Bob could be like, oh, you just sent me way too many loads. I could only cover like
not really, because there's not that many
LTLs. Not as time sensitive.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because you have to be faster to kind of call, right? So if AI can just...
FleetWorks needs to know how much, like, what is your capacity? Because they don't know.
Dude, I have daily capacity. Like, we have...
I know, you have daily capacity right now, but, like, you're not going to have daily capacity. If all of a sudden Paul sends you 30 Raycons to pick up today, you're not going to pick up 30 loads. And there's 30 loads getting picked up for partials or LTLs in Charlotte.
Yeah, you just start small.
There isn't enough partials to send out that many. Trust me, bro.
Yeah, but you're You're saying LTL, but in reality, it's more of a partial. LTL is like 1 or 2 pallets. Like
well,
partials.
that's okay. Partial.
Like you're not going to pick up one pallet for $100. You know?
Yeah, but they don't post. Those 1 pallets don't get posted on DAT. They go with FedEx or UPS or whatever. They don't post those loads.
Sometimes they do get posted. People like, okay, I'm just going to give you an example.
Yeah, I know.
When I was a broker, I did a lot of partials at Everest, and I knew in each city like who does partials where,
right?
And I never posted them. I just called those brokers and they took them right away.
So that's the thing.
You called the brokers?
No, I called the carriers. So I called the carriers. I knew which carriers took them. Like, there would never be a need to post partial because like I knew exactly.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Brokers.
You guys agree? You guys are saying the same fucking thing, gentlemen. You guys are saying that okay.
You don't want 40 loads if you got 25 trucks.
Exactly.
I do want 40 loads. If it's 1 pallet, that can easily fit in a trailer.
He's saying a limit.
Bob has a lot of cousins in Charlotte.
He's saying
he'll figure it out.
Fraud problem.
No, you just set a limit at first, and then you amp up that limit as you can increase your capacity.
Yeah.
And you can.
But there isn't enough partials in a day.
Thanks to Paul, you can monopolize the entire region very quickly.
I want to try it.
Because you can get every LTL load. And
I would book every LTL loads in Charlotte. 150-mile radius around Charlotte. Let's go.
It legitimately works, but you don't have access to
change our
DAT.
We don't. We would probably use your account basically as a way to work with DAT. Yeah.
Okay. Or you could just do
Or
all
if you
the
tell
brokers.
me, if you tell me what the numbers are, we just call them every morning at 6:30 and ask them if they've got capacity. Or you just tell me who the brokers are and we integrate with them, and then we can
just integrate with the brokers, all the brokers, and
That's the thing. The brokers sometimes want to post it on DAT just to see who calls them. You know.
Yeah, that's the
literally,
inefficiency.
we worked with so many brokers with LTLs or partials. And it's like, bro, you know I run this lane. Why don't you, like you're saying, you would just call that carrier because you know they did a good job for you. No, guess what? They still end up posting it on DAT.
What are the brokers that you work with a lot?
That do partials, like low-key logistics. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them.
LOKI.
They're very low key.
No.
They're under the radar.
EY, yeah. Global Trans has a lot of U-boxes. You know, they post a bunch. Axle Logistics, they do a lot of partials.
I think we're about to start working with Axel. So
I think we just got blocked with Axle.
Maybe Paul, you could help Bob out here.
This could be the point where you crack that code, though.
Where does your head go?
Like, I don't know if you already do this with any carriers, but my head goes of if this worked for Bob and legitimately you just started sending him all the LTL loads that he can handle, and as long as he's handling them, then he just increases his radius, starts opening them up in other cities, and just LTL load just gets sent to his company. And he grows that company very quickly. You know,
if you just default
and buy another G-Wagon.
You're the fastest. And you're the fastest. Like, you're straight in the system. Carrier reps aren't even going to be able to book the loads. They just come in. Oh, they're all booked. They're all sent to Bob.
Yeah.
No. You know.
Yeah.
Like, you just took over.
Why are you only focused on LTL and partial loads? Let's focus on all the loads.
No. Believe it or not, because
part.
sometimes putting a few partials together pays way more than putting a full truckload.
For sure.
I think
Flock Freight at all?
We do. Yeah. We book a lot with Flock Freight, and it's funny that you said about putting certain prices, because with Flock Freight we always hit it with such a high price.
Yeah.
And then they just bump it up a little bit, but then eventually when they need to move that load, they'll actually end up paying what you need to get it moved.
They would love to run a pilot with you. Like, because they have this new add-ons feature where they already have you on a load, but they think that they have another small LTL or partial en route that would make you more money. They want to use us to call out and tell you about it.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that add-on feature sucks. I never use it. Because the way they do it is bro, I'm running from Charlotte to Los Angeles, and it'd be like, oh, do you want to pick up a load in Missouri? And it's like, no, I don't want to go completely up to Missouri. My drivers run 10 to 20 and straight to California.
It's got to be a thinner radius on that lane.
Okay. Yeah.
So sometimes they just
easy to do.
100%. Yeah, they'll figure it out.
That's their fault, but
Some of them, I think we've added on probably a few loads over the last few months. Yeah,
it works sometimes.
It does work sometimes, but most of the time it does not.
Kudos to Flock, I think, especially because I think you need brokers who... Flock, I think, is one of those brokers who is really trying to push the boundary of what a brokerage can do. And look, I think predictably it's super, super hard to automate partials and LTL. Really challenging. I think they're one of the few people really trying to do it. And obviously, if they really... they've made a lot of progress. But if they continue to really crack it, they can... I think they can do super well.
Yeah. There's always still problems with all their loads because they're tracking.
As opposed to every other brokerage.
Cut the tape.
No, because what I'm saying is sometimes you show up to the shipper, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's 12 pallets or whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, but these pallets are pipes or something like that. And it's completely not 12 pallets. Just the shipper, I guess, makes the mistake or whatever it is.
We don't have any carriers doing LTL today, but I'd be pretty interested to try it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would be willing to try that out for sure. If we could somehow set up where this AI searches within a 150-mile radius of Charlotte to Texas, Arizona, and California.
We're not going to charge you for this pie. I want to figure it out. So if you...
It would make my life and our dispatcher's life a lot easier.
I would love to.
This should be more for the documentary. It's talking about SF, You're from New York. You came out here. What's going on in SF right now?
First of all, there's an eternal New York and SF debate, and whatever I say, I will get slaughtered by one side. So I'm going to acknowledge that. I actually just literally got back from New York. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I love that city. It will always be home for me. What's going on in SF? I mean, I think, you guys are here talking about AI, but I love eating out at restaurants. That's one of the things we do. Like every Friday, we try to order in from a nice place or go out to a nice place. Great food scene here in SF. I mean, you just can't get better produce anywhere. So food is great here. AI's great here. Weather is great if you love 60-degree weather, which I do. Other than that, I mean, it's a super sleepy city. Like restaurants kick you out at 8 p.m. They're like, go home, we're closing. So that's a big knock on SF. Sometimes you want to have like a 10 p.m. dinner, and you can't do that here.
I would not expect that. That's
Yes.
like my town in Poland. I love it.
the early shut. Look, again, 9 out of 10 nights, I'm super into the 8 p.m. shutdown, but and look,
but once in a while, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I've been there. Yeah, believe me, I know what you mean.
I love
When
like
Paul
the New York
visits.
energy. The prime time of the best restaurants is like 8:30. Like that's the best time.
Paul, you started at Uber Freight. Was that like you're the first time you were in like logistics, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Uber Freight, like your journey there.
I joined in 2018. So the company was already pretty large. We just cracked 1,000 loads per day. So by most counts, we were a large brokerage. I think though the growth was like crazy, but mostly because we were losing money on every single load. Like literally you would open the load board, there were 0 loads in the green, 0. But we had a lot of money to burn. That has changed a lot. Now they make money on most of their freight. So the goal at Uber Freight, I think we were trying to solve a lot of problems at once. And one of the things that I first worked on was how's Uber Freight going to automate GPS tracking? That was a pretty unsolved problem at the time. Project 44 had kind of just come out. MacroPoint was strong, but still GPS was super unsolved. And so we created this multi-pronged strategy of working with GPS providers, like the Samsaras of the world. We would work with Project 44. We would do our own app. We would do our web app. We do text links. We would have a manual track and trace team. So we figured all that out. I think ultimately Uber came to the same conclusion that we talked about earlier, which was that as an individual brokerage, there's kind of a ceiling to your growth. And so they went the managed transportation route. They purchased Transplace. Now they went sort of closer to the shipper. Ultimately, a really good strategic move for Uber. Now they're in a very different services-oriented business that I think will likely be upended by AI over time. Really hard to do that because every shipper has a hyper custom process. But I left, I would say probably 6 months after the Transplace acquisition. Just ChatGPT had just come out. You could start building on LLMs. It was a really exciting time to go build a company. So it felt like the right time for me personally. But I think to your point, Uber Freight, one of their biggest draws was they built like an incredible team. They brought some amazing people from Uber Rides. They were able to recruit incredible folks from companies like Airbnb and DoorDash, and all these amazing people came into Uber. Ultimately got the company to a really great point. And then a lot of these folks left to start their own companies. A lot in logistics. We can name a few. There's Loop. There is Truck Smarter. There was a company that was actually just acquired. We're gonna have to cut this tape, and I'm supposed to remember. Not ISO. ISO was purchased, and ISO's great, and I love those guys. Fleetworthy?
Okay.
No, I think they were the acquirer. But ultimately, I think there's probably been at least a dozen companies that have come out of Uber Freight. A lot of them logistics oriented, which just I think speaks to the caliber of the people, but also just the amount of problems in logistics. Like there's problems everywhere you look, and I think if you're a super intellectually curious person, you'll trip over a problem if you start walking around in freight enough.
It'd be interesting to hear your perspective of kind of the V1 of VC in logistics, and then transition, because I guess the beginnings were Uber Freight and Convoy,
Sure.
and with VC actually getting involved in logistics beforehand, it wasn't an industry that VCs really paid attention to.
Sure.
And then it's been transitioning now, I don't know, this is V2 or V3, where it's AI agents coming into play.
Probably V3. So I think, V1 was, there's probably a V0. I want to give credit to some companies that were probably raising some small VC dollars or decent VC dollars. I will also say that I think VC dollars are not the end all be all. I think, look, there are plenty, people have built billion-dollar brokerages with 0 VC dollars, right? So clearly some people know something that others don't, right? And there's, I think, some really interesting dynamic of VCs see a really large market, see traction, and get really excited about it. We really love our partners in particular, just as like, I think we like we like that our VCs are, number one, provide a huge amount of support to us in in a variety of capacities, but also are like a great intellectual partner. Like we come to them with challenges and problems and we like ideate together on how to solve them in a really open and honest way, which is great. Uber and Convoy like really opened up, hey, this is a $1 trillion market. And then VCs were like, how are we ignoring this? So they threw tons of money at it. I think I would argue that mostly V1 investment, I don't think anything has panned out. And I think on a personal level, if you talk to a lot of venture investors who made those early bets, many of them are really burned. Many of them won't really invest in logistics anymore just because they don't really want to touch the space. V2, there's been like a ton of companies that have raised a lot of money over, I think a lot like in the visibility space probably is like maybe V2, let's call it. And then V3 is AI. I think a lot of VCs see manual process, they see really big market, they see AI, they see traction, they see really positive customer feedback, and they get really excited about it. So I think certainly some really smart folks in the investor community who are partner with us or partner with someone else or taking a look at the space. Ultimately, I think VCs also want to work with founders who guide them toward what they think the future could look like, especially with AI.
Do you think we're currently in an AI bubble? Like in the last couple of years, a lot of AI companies have, sprouted out, and especially out of SF. I'm just like wondering, like in the next like 5 to 10 years, like a lot of these companies cease to exist, and then just like, will there be just a couple like winners? Then there's gonna be like a V4 of VC investing.
Sure. Yeah. What is V4 of a VC investing? I think everyone just begs OpenAI to invest in their Series F fundraising, valuing them at $150 billion or something like that. Maybe that's all. Maybe that's V4 at the end of the day. I think there will be absolute winners in the space. I mean, I think we sort of already see like, we see in our bake-offs and our trials who customers choose to kind of put in those final rounds. But I also think the cool thing about AI, and this is where we get really excited, is the underlying technology changes so quickly that teams that are very, very technical and very plugged in and very agile can take advantage of those things versus like even most logistics companies, even ones that have like pretty big IT teams, have really only just barely started to build with AI agents because they're just predict to be somewhat slow moving. So I think what we try to do with our partners is tell them, hey, what you're getting with us is a great product today, but also a really agile team that takes advantage of all advancements in AI over time. And that really benefits us and it benefits you as a brokerage, as a carrier. Because if you're working with a gigantic technology company that's working, imagine today you work with a company that's like, oh, we just figured out how to this is a weird example. We just figured out how to use GPT 3.5. It's like, well, wait a minute. We're on O3 Pro right now. O3 Pro is 3 years more advanced than GPT 3.5. And there's sort of an equivalency there of like, do you want to work with a company who knows how to take advantage of the future, or a company that's like, we just build technology? So that's the kind of promise we try to bring to our customers.
Mm-hmm. Anything that comes to mind and like that you'd want to discuss about SF, like for like the tech, like I guess freight tech specific,
I think we've seen like a centralization of talent in San Francisco, especially with AI. I think maybe as AI becomes much more common, like everyone is building in AI in some capacity. Like there's no more AI companies, there's just technology companies, and they all like it'd be like, oh, I'm a technology company, but I don't build web applications. Like I don't build like with servers. Like that's just going to be impossible. So it's pretty similar with AI, where let's be 5 years to be generous. Everyone will be an AI company, whether you purchase AI, whether you build AI yourselves into your existing technology, everyone will use AI. So as building with AI proliferates, I'm sort of curious of how does talent start to drift away from San Francisco again? Like maybe it will go to places like Chicago, like Chattanooga, like Dallas, like these freight hubs where engineers there will pick up on some of the things that San Francisco engineers are doing. So I think it is kind of this democratizer for talent, but look, I think SF and the Bay Area just continues to be a huge talent draw, and people have been talking about the death of the Bay Area for 30 years, right? Since like .com bubble. And the reality is that I think, if anything, that this region has probably become even more powerful. If you actually look at the centralization of capital and of talent, I would actually bet that SF is probably more concentrated than ever.
How big is like freight, I guess, in San Francisco, just freight tech?
Really hard to give you a percentage, but I think a lot of people have heard of freight tech, versus like I think 10 years ago, people would be like, what the heck is a truck? What are you talking about? I think people have heard of V1, V2 freight tech companies. I think a lot of people are intrigued by AI in freight because I think people are excited about AI, really want to be on the forefront of deploying it. And this is, I think, one of the best industries to do it. The two that seem to be doing pretty well right now are freight and healthcare. Those are probably the two that people are really driving as far as like vertical AI. Oh, wow. But then of course you've got like very horizontal AI, which is like, we do sales, we do like marketing, we do document extraction. So there's like a lot of companies that are doing that for like every industry. Or we just do like voice AI, for example. Like there's companies that just sell voice AI to anybody. And so I think a lot of people have heard about freight tech and are excited about it.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that. I'm curious like your end game, or maybe not end game, but like your next like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Obviously right now it's crush FleetWorks, right?
Yeah.
And create something that's going to change history in the logistics game forever.
Yeah.
Which is mind-bending, and that's where your full focus is. But do you think about like future things like past this?
It's a good question. I think overall on a personal level, I'm excited to have a family, grow a family. Who knows where that's going to be? I love the Bay, but like I said, like I love a 10 p.m. dinner in New York City, and I love skiing out in Utah. So where do we go from there? 10, 15 years from now, I mean, like I said, AI is just 3 years old, right? Yeah. So will it get to the point where 15 years from now we have AGI or like super intelligence that is doing so many different things for us? Like I'm personally really excited about like how this technology will affect us all personally. Like I think advancements in robotics and AI, like I almost imagine like an exoskeleton for myself. So like as I get older, my body crumbles from like, too many twisted ankles and marathons. Like an exoskeleton is helping me walk, right? Or like a butler, like for example, my grandparents live in Brooklyn, New York City. They have like a state paid for like home attendant that helps them, cook and clean because they're in their late 80s and early 90s. Will there be AI robot butlers that do that kind of stuff that might be state paid or whatever? Like probably in our lifetime for sure. So I'm really excited about that. And I think in terms of just like transportation, you guys have taken a Waymo here probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Was that your first time or?
I did it in November a few months ago. They did it, you did it this morning, right? You wanted to do it.
Yeah.
It works really well. Like it's cool. So I think I'm excited to see how that sort of changes all of our lives. But beyond that, I mean, I think we just try to like
figure
keep
this
our nose
out
to the ground.
Right
Yeah.
What about self-driving trucks?
I will also be the first to say that I'm not an expert. I have a lot of very close friends. I'm lucky to have a good friend who runs AV partnerships at Uber Freight. I think the tech is both closer and farther than we would like. Some of the tech is there, some of it is not. Certainly the regulatory environment is not really there. And I think the question seems to be who has the liability. With a driverless car in a city, they've done a lot to basically limit liability and figure out how do I make sure that this car is driving as safely as possible. And it's proven that it's much safer than a human driver. And I believe that a self-driving truck is safer than a human-driven truck. Like absolutely no doubt in my mind that today we're probably there. But look, like when something does happen, which like statistically it will, right. Who is responsible? Can you really blame the company because like the machine made some decision in a black box ML algorithm that like no one could really explain. And then of course like
That sucks. The only reason we don't have it is because someone has to be blamed. No, because I was here in San Francisco in like 2016. Visited you guys at Uber, and I was in Otto, the self-driving truck. Look, ma, no hands. We're driving down the freeway down here, and I'm like, whoa, it exists. And back then you guys were saying like, yeah, we've got the tech pretty much figured out. It's just.
I think they might have been a little optimistic there, to be honest. But I think the tech has gotten good enough now. But it's all the little stuff. And also, like, look, the Waymos here are, what, a couple £1,000. A fully loaded truck is 80,000 pounds. So, the risk is just super high.
Does it become worth it or not? Like, I saw a video about Waymo. The thing costs $260,000 pretty much.
So that's the other thing. That's a great point.
Plus maintaining it, plus all this, it's like it's better to just hire an Uber driver and have an Uber driver drive you.
So every Waymo right now is ROI negative. They lose money on every single Waymo. Right. But the bet is that over time costs come down, revenues go up, utilization goes up, and the bet is that self-driving cars make a ton of money, right? Yeah. Google is eating that cost, right? Google is eating the fact that they're losing, $100,000 on every single car.
50-year game.
Yeah, of course. You go talk to JB Hunt, they're running a pretty low margin business, and they are not going to eat the cost of any of these. Maybe Aurora could say, hey, we will actually pay you. We'll pay you to take this truck off our hands and run it for us. Like, that's probably the only way to do it. But JB Hunt's not going to buy 100 trucks, 1,000 trucks, 10,000 trucks, unless those trucks are ROI positive for them. Right. What's challenging about freight and logistics is that your product has to be proven ROI positive for people to adopt it, right? Yeah. And if it's not, they're like, well, look, come back to me when it is.
Phenomenal.
Cut the documentary.
Awesome.
Alrighty. Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you.